Nick,
Greg,
what do you got for me?
So we were talking about, it wasn't last week, I think it was the week before, we were talking about movie lines, right? And then the week after we started talking about movie trailers, and I realized there's a great line in that really kind of struck me as, it's a very powerful line. It's the Russell Crowe line that I talked about, I think it was last week, where it's his parting words to his son, right?
In the Man of Steel trailer.
In the Man of Steel trailer. And it got me thinking, I'm like, what if the Earth were dying? And I was the only person that knew it, and I had to send my newborn son out. What message? What would I say to him? What would be my parting words?
Why would you even say fucking shit to him? He's a newborn. He's not gonna remember.
Well, you know, he gave him the message, right? Like he's like he's the hologram guy, like which I don't think I'd have the attention span for. I think I would just want to do like one thing where I'm like,
you put an MIM card in his little crib. And
yeah,
send
it's like,
him away.
dude, I got like an hour to talk to you. Like, what are the most important life lessons that I can impart to you? Would you tell him to be a good man? Would you tell him to go take over the world, knowing he's going to be a superhuman being on this next planet that he goes to?
I'd probably just walk up to him and just go, 5, 3, 6, 1.
No, but he'd inherently know that you're a liar then.
4.
He would know you're a liar.
No.
Because that's not the way.
That's what Tim would do. Tim would,
is.
before it would happen, he wouldn't give words of encouragement. He would transcode all the Fast and Furious movies onto a stick.
They just need to know.
It would be funny if you said those numbers, but then he didn't understand the context, so he spent his entire life trying to crack the code of these numbers.
And then once he watched the movies, he'd realize what it meant. He'd be like,
how is he gonna watch the movies
right.
in another world?
But the thing is,
Fast and Furious will live on. Do not worry, Greg.
He watches the movies, but it doesn't snap until he's older and he's on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Right.
And
My father was an asshole.
He spent all these years trying to figure out what the secrets of these numbers were. Was it how many planets are in this system? Is it?
He's watched Lost like 500 times to figure out if there's something in there that's decipherable.
Is it how many molecules are in this? No, it's the order of these fucking movies.
Yeah, I tell him to be a hero. I tell him not.
You'd say go hero. I guess that's
hide your powers.
The root of my question is: would you tell him to go like dominate? Or would you tell him to try and be like a good leader and like knowing that he's going to be like a sacrificial lamb half the time?
Being an example.
Yeah. Wait, really? Are you like a supervillain?
Yeah, what are you doing? You're like,
I think I'd be like,
go dominate the world.
I mean, you're going to be a god.
Mold it into your image.
I think I would be like, why don't you just go like make sure that you don't ever get hurt? Ooh, look at that.
Don't get hurt, dude.
Don't ever let him hurt you.
I'd love to see this. You smoking.
Don't ever let him see you
cry.
cry.
Do whatever you want and don't get hurt.
Or just go to like go Rocky 4 and be like, just break them. Just whatever you do, I will break you. You know what I mean? You would
You're a bad guy. You want to
So
do
if you
that.
had superpowers, you'd fuck shit up. That's
every single one of us would be a supervillain at this table.
No.
Every single one of us would.
I don't think so.
I don't
We were
agree.
talking. We had that thing that went around IGN where we were talking about what our favorite superpowers are, right?
Yeah.
And I started thinking about mine. Every single one of them I could think of, I would use for bad.
See,
I would use for a negative thing.
I would
use for my advantage, which
Yes.
inherently is a trait that a villain has. Villains use power to their advantage. Superheroes use power to benefit the lives of others. That's the way it goes. My superpower that I chose was to be able to morph into a better looking man, and that might be altruistic, but I really don't think there's no real way I'm using that power other than to get
What are
good
Colin's
looking
thoughts
women.
on this?
I don't know. I think I'd be a superhero. I think everyone starts as a superhero and becomes corrupted though. So
Live long enough to see yourself,
or
become
has
a
like
villain.
the note. Like I don't think the greatest villain of all time, Shocker, put on his suit and was
Bane is the greatest villain of all time.
Bane's the greatest Batman villain. But in the Marvel universe, Shocker
yes, he put on his suit to be bad.
No, he put on his suit and he was like, I look pretty good in this suit.
Hey, I got this.
And
I look like a booth at a steak restaurant.
I don't know if you know the story of Shocker is
like
that
the floor of a Vegas casino. It's amazing.
the story of Shocker is that he worked for a power company and they would always send him out in when wires would fall or whatever, and he used to have to climb up these.
So he's PG&E guy.
Yeah, and he'd have to climb up, and it's like this fucking tedious thing. He just wanted to go home and hang out, and he wasn't getting paid overtime. He wasn't getting paid time and a half or anything like that. So he made this suit that could shoot electricity, so that like he could just shoot the
just power the thing himself.
And
he doesn't have to get up there.
Just
he has to
go
climb
back.
up the weird peg thing. They
Right,
put
exactly.
On
He didn't have time for that, and he was hurting. His back hurt, and he's
got
older,
5
and
kids.
so I think that was the story of Shocker, but like he realized, so it started for good, but then he became corrupted because he realized that obviously this suit is so powerful that he can do other things with it. But it started because he just wanted to make his job easier so he can go hang out with his family.
Yeah, that's it. It was altruistic. It was just he wanted to be a good guy. But like you look at some of the best villains out there, and they're not villains. Like Magneto, I think is probably the best villain ever. He's not a villain. He's just and they say they have a screenwriting tenet that when you start writing your villains, you don't want to ever write them one-dimensionally. So what you want to do is have them be the protagonist in their own life. And so the best villains, if you look, are the protagonists. They're the good people in their own life. They're just doing something that's contrary to whatever the main protagonist is, which is pretty fascinating. So I'd like to think that if I had a superpower, I would choose to do something good with it. But I have a feeling that once I did that thing good, the rest of the world, because it's kind of majority rules, like whatever the majority of the world thinks of you is right, and whatever the minority thinks is wrong, right? I'd probably be on the minority side. I'm not saying that minorities are bad. I'm saying generally popular, because you just know you had a reaction to that, like I said something.
No,
Ken. That was not what I meant.
What my topic next week's gonna be.
Okay, great.
But that's,
but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna like save this particular sect of people or something like that, or I'm gonna evangelize this thing, and people will be like, no, that's bad. But I'd like to think that would be me. Reality, I'd probably just use my superpower to just make a lot of money and probably become a horrible human being, and then I'd be a villain. And then Superman would have to come stop me. Like Greg would have to come stop me. And then he'd be like,
Greg's kid.
He'd look at me and go, wow, Nick's life is so much more fun than mine, because to be a superhero in any universe sucks most of the time.
Yeah.
That he'd probably be like this, I'm going to party with this guy. Just like we did in real life. Where you were like, you came in, you never had alcohol, you never had sex, you never done anything crazy, you didn't even stay up past 10.
It's true.
And you met Scarpino, you met Moriarty, the Italians double teamed you. Got to be a better way to say it than that.
Nope.
No,
This is
that's
pretty much
it.
the best way to say it, I think.
The fire rises.
Lord. So, Colin, what would you tell your kid?
I don't know. Does it matter? I mean, he's going to another world. I don't really care what happens on another world.
Well, they're playing a recorded message.
Is America there?
He's getting a recorded message.
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't. If things are so dire that humanity is leaving Earth and or Earth's done or all those kinds, I don't know. It's game over. Who cares? Yeah, I would tell him to just not even bother.
You wouldn't even send him. You would be like, you know what?
You're dying here with us.
You're gonna die here with us.
It's just like how I feel about the United States. Like if the United States was going down, I'd want us to take the whole world with us. So
we will take the whole world with us.
So if the entire planet is gone, then we've already reached the point where I definitely don't care anymore.
Interesting. Tim, what would you say to your kid if you had a kid and it was like that was it? You could impart one piece of wisdom. What
I
would
said
it
the
be?
Fast and Furious thing.
That's what it was.
Really, what I would really tell my kid, I don't know. I don't know. It's such a weird situation where I don't know what this kid's gonna do.
Greg, you don't want kids, so maybe I should have really thought this topic through a little bit more before I brought it.
I mean, I would tell him to be Superman about it, but I would refine it a bit if I had time and tell him like that's the boring part of superhero origin stories, right? Where they always feel like they have to hide it and something horrible happens.
Yeah,
you don't have to hide it. You have powers. Trust
no
people.
one can touch you.
I want to go that far. I want to set him up to be like, oh, nothing's ever gonna happen. Then somebody shows up with a fucking rock and it's over.
A rock. He's like, of
kryptonite.
all these things,
it was a kryptonite.
All
rock,
of these things that I'm impervious to, and someone just had to grab a rock.
Bullets, my only
Bullets.
weakness.
I mean, honestly, I would probably just be like, be nice. That's really, I think, the best advice you can ever give anybody. Be nice, do good.
Trust in people.
Don't be mean. I think actually more than be nice is just don't be mean. Because if you tell someone, that's like, I think the greatest piece of advice.
Before we part, do you honestly think you'd be a superhero on this planet if you were that kid?
I think I would do more good than bad.
Okay.
For sure.
I'd like to believe I did.
I would still illegally download movies.
Yeah, but
I'd buy them afterwards.
I feel like you just like sprint into a Best Buy, steal everything, come back, and then like 20 minutes later, like leave $100 bill or something like that.
Yeah,
that you stole from a bank.
The idea of this like moral stuff
bank
is kind of weird because that's a whole other topic of like what's okay and when's it okay. Like stealing's bad, but is it always bad? And like in what sense? Like I would not go to a Best Buy and steal a movie from them.
Yeah,
but I would download a movie and not care.
That's the same thing.
But for some reason in my head it's not.
It's the same thing
at all.
You're a villain.
So yeah, I'll take the villainous traits of that. But at the same time, like I guess it's once it gets to the level of when I can see who I'm affecting. That's when I'm like, oh, that's not nice.
All right.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Game Over Greggy show. All three of you, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, every week we come to the table, each with a random topic, discuss it for your amusement. You can get the MP3 for $1 every Friday at GameOverGreggy.bandcamp.com. Then over on YouTube, each topic posts Monday through Thursday. Friday, the full show goes up. All of that on YouTube is free. We call it GameOverGreggy.com. You can enjoy it there. Until next week.
Aww.
We got to come up with some. Just our Tim Allen references.
That's it.
We need to get Tim Allen for the show, but then not have him really on the show and just have him interrupt at the end.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'll do it.